Hi, Shauna here, and welcome to a very special empathy experience instructional video. Today we're going to look at how to use empathy experience and our empathy toolkit with individuals who have been touched by addiction in some way. So individuals who might be in active addiction, family members and friends who are looking for ways to support this individual or themselves through the process, and frontline care providers who are working with individuals with addictions and wanting to provide the best care possible. Empathy experience is an educational tool and is not to be substituted for professional medical advice or professional medical care. So we want you to be well taken care of and use our kit if you think it would be helpful for you, your family member, or your client in a supportive way. And that's the beauty of empathy experience, is it can support so many different modalities and so many different therapies, but we want to make sure you're getting the care that you need and you know what's best for you. When we look at addiction, and I've worked for 20 years in the field and had personal experience myself, if I've learned anything, I've learned one thing, and that is that no one wakes up one morning and decides they're going to become addicted to something. Somewhere along the way, and we know this from excellent research from people like Stephanie Covington, we know that somewhere along the way we experienced trauma, we experienced our basic needs not being met, and we experienced an inability to process and cope with whatever was overwhelming us in our childhood, adolescence, or adult life. For relief, we chose a substance, a person, a behavior that would help us to cope with that overwhelming situation or long-term situation that we were faced with. Addiction is a very multifaceted, layered issue, and so we never want to point the finger and look at someone who's struggling. We want to point that individual to empathy. That is what we believe in empathy experience, and we believe empathy can help open the pathways to recovery even broader and even wider. And we start with ourselves, always starting with ourselves. Empathy experience can be used in many, many different ways. And my good friend Wade Sherman has done a documentary on his own recovery from drug addiction through the 12-step program. And we got this idea that we would use empathy experience and Wade's documentary as a tool to bring people together who are touched by addiction in whatever form and help them process and learn and support each other in a really affirming and positive and structured way. So the way we can use empathy experience with, say, a 12-step group is we could have some kind of a speaker, a documentary like Wade's, a reading, a reflection, and then hand everyone in the group a kit and 3 decks of cards, feel it, need it, and inspiration. And with some guidance and structure, we would, after the speaker has spoken, a lot of times in recovery groups, someone will share their story, rather than just going around the circle, which is very important and helpful. This is a different way to look at how that person's story impacted the group. So we would go through our Feel It deck and we would say, what feelings came up for me when I heard that story being shared or when I saw that film? And we would go through our cards and we would look for the feelings that jumped out at us. So perhaps I felt really upset because maybe it reminded me of something I've been through. Maybe I was confused. Maybe I was concerned. Maybe I was feeling anxious because it was touching something in me. That's often, strong reactions are often an indicator that something very real and very important is going on with us. And the cards are also a grounding tool, and that's the beauty of tactile, multi-sense experiences, and that was really important to us when we designed empathy experience. When we're trying to create new neural pathways in our brain, it's really super important that we have many ways to do that and we engage the senses. So talk therapy is one way, but another way is to just ground ourselves with cards and the feeling, the action of picking up and choosing. That in and of itself can be a grounding tool, especially when we're dealing with a very emotional and very layered issue like addiction. So we would ask everyone to choose the cards that best described how they felt about whatever was presented that night at group. Then we would ask people to go around the circle and share simply their feelings about what they saw. And this also is a safe way for people to share when people maybe aren't comfortable. They could just share the fact that they felt scared, nervous, and concerned. They don't have to go into detail if they don't want to. But they're sharing and they're connecting and they're recognizing that they're not alone. And that is a huge part of the addictive spiral, is isolation and loneliness. And so we're trying to break that barrier by creating circles of people who are talking about their feelings, which often get repressed. So people can share, and then we move on to the Need It deck. And in the Need It deck are all of the needs that we have, all of the needs that probably weren't met for many of us who struggled with addiction and codependency. And these are really the core of empathy experience, because when we know what we need, we are in a better position to meet those needs in healthy ways rather than in the ways that we may have been acting out in our addictive state. So we go around the circle again and we say to people, in light of the story you heard tonight and how you felt about it, what needs came up for you? What need did maybe this night meet for you, this experience meet for you? What needs are you thinking of right now that might not be met in your own life and you're struggling? So I might be, looking through my deck and I see that, wow, yeah, I have a real need for friends. I have a real need for friends and companions so that I know I'm not alone because my son has a drinking problem or my daughter is involved in a very abusive codependent relationship. So for me to recognize that I need friends, I need support, I need laughter. The addiction treatment world is very serious a lot of the time. We need to laugh and be able to have fun. We know how to take care of ourselves. Perhaps that night met the need for someone to be heard for the first time. Maybe they were able to share their feelings out loud. So we're asking people to identify their strongest needs, and in the same way we did with our Feel It deck, we're going to go around the circle and we're going to share what needs were met or not met by the discussion and by the awareness that came from watching that video or listening to that story. And we can ask people again just to share their needs. So if you had a need for support and friends and to be heard, you would just simply say that. And we know again from studies that the very act of being heard and listened to and honored and respected, when no advice is given and nothing changes about our situation, can make an incredible difference in someone's life and in their mental health and well-being in that moment. And then that equips them to take some more positive steps toward recovery or toward seeking help for themselves. So the last step of an empathy experience is inspiration. And we always love to end on this note because what this does is it gives us some closure, it gives us something to think about, and it gives us some encouragement to move forward and confirmation that we're on the right track. So the last step would be to take the inspiration deck and having people just shuffle it randomly and say, in light of your feelings and needs that came up tonight, we're really glad you were here. This is the fun part, just choose a card. You can choose it randomly, or you can look through the deck at all the symbols and words on the inspiration cards and just choose one that jumps out at you and don't think too much about why. So I'm going to choose today my card, and my card was Reframe. And I would look at that card and we'd have everyone share their inspiration card, and people love sharing their inspiration cards because it's not super personal, right? Like, this is just about how I randomly picked this. And then the question would be this: everyone has their card and they share their word, and that's bonding for the circle as well. And then we ask the group, how might I infuse this card into my situation and what I feel and what I need? So how might the idea of reframing and the symbol that I see here fit into what I was struggling with? So if I was struggling, say, with a lack of support and understanding about my child's addiction, how might I reframe this? And I would tell myself I might reframe that by seeing this as an opportunity to reach out to others and I know personally, I'm a helper. I'm in a helping profession. I love to help people. I don't like asking for help myself. And so I could reframe this very challenging situation in my life and I could say, how could I reframe my situation and look at it as an opportunity for me to reach out and receive help from others instead of me always helping and get support and encouragement. That might be something really, really important for my growth and my well-being, and that is automatically going to extend to my child who's struggling. So that's one example of how to use the inspiration deck. The nice thing about empathy experience is it's dynamic. We don't like to prescribe a very rigid role. We just like to give assurance and boundaries, but you could use this many different ways, and we have posts and different suggestions on how to use it. But please visit our site, and if you're interested in learning more about Wade and his documentary, you can click the link below, and that will take you to him. We want to support and encourage everyone who is working in the field of addiction and recovery because we believe everyone's needs matter and everyone important and deserves the health and healing and help to move forward in their life's purpose. So thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next time.